B. King Curtis stabbed, Would-be Jakey, Bayard shot, Albert Eiler found floating in the East River. They called it suicide. Sonny Murray told me he was killed over a woman. Jazz artist Frank Sinatra cut his wrist when Ava Gardner left him. But Miles couldn't get rid of this barefoot contestant. Jelly Roll Morton was stabbed. One night, one of these riffraff got to active writing and Bird called him. The fellow used some bad language, first slapped him. Then he sat down at the piano and began to play. And the fellow slipped up behind him and stabbed him. Stabbed him for the first time in the head, and when Bird turned, he stabbed him just above the part. They took his music, his bus, his clothes, his diamond ring, but they could not take the pearls from his music. Bud Powell was beat by the police when he was 20. He never fully recovered from that beating. As a result, he suffered pain and had to take drugs to alleviate the pain. They chained Billy to a hospital bed. She's a martyr. They kept Thelonious Monk from working for 2 years. He's a martyr. They beat up Miles Davis standing in front of the Birdland. His crime, standing next to a white woman while black. They busted Chet Baker in the chops and threw him out of a hotel window. He said, after lying to myself for 24 hours, I started yelling, banging on my cell door with my shoe. A half hour later, I was carried to the infirmary by 4 guards and dumped naked into a padded cell. I couldn't believe it. I didn't mind being in a padded cell or being naked, but it was so cold in there. Maybe that was their psychology to keep you so worried about freezing. You would have a chance to think about how sick you were. Chet Baker. The police even threw Maureen in jail. Her crime, loving women. She said, went out last night with a crowd of my friends. They must have been women because I don't like men. Wear my clothes just like a fan. Talk to the gals like any old man. Drummer Art Blakely was nearly beaten to death by the police in Albany, Georgia for not addressing a white policeman as sir. The experience led him to Islam and a name change. Abdullah Amin Buhaina, which only led to another policeman asking him his real name aggressively. Who are the jazz martyrs? The critics who call black jazz musicians difficult, contentious, unpredictable. Heinous Swafer, an English critic, compared Louis Armstrong with a gorilla. Lord Castle described Bill Webster as an ugly gorilla, an acromaniac, broad bone, bulging leather strut, lowland gorilla. They lied when they said if you gave Mercer heroin, he could do classics on his feet and didn't have to practice. Who are the jazz martyrs? Anyway, why is crime black and jazz American? George Gershwin denied that he was influenced by black musicians, but then sneakily wrote a book inscription to W.C. Handy, acknowledging Handy's influence on his art. He wrote to W.C. Handy, his early blues songs, our forefathers of this work, Rhapsody in Blue, with admiration and best wishes. I saw this in the Handy Museum in Georgia. It was signed George Gershwin, August 30th, 1928. And could jazz zones be martyrs? Could jazz zones be martyrs? They closed down Storyville. They closed down the Barbary Coast. They closed down 52nd Street. They forbade bebop from being played and declined the music hall in my hometown, Buffalo, New York. Jazz taught me how to be a non-conformist. Jazz taught me to sing Moody's Mood for Love, which I would sing at teenage parties to impress the girls. That made up for a shyness that bordered on the autistic. It educated me to trends like musicians converting to Islam. It's jazz, and who are the jazz martyrs? And why has jazz survived? Because it insists, like Sonny Rollins' Freedom Suite, Max Roach and Abbey Lincoln's We Insist, Lena Horne's Now, Nina Simone's Mississippi Goddamn, Jackie McLean's Let Freedom Ring, Archie Shepp's Attica. Marcus Garvey didn't make it to Africa, but Randy Wesley did. He brought back rhythms of scales and luggage and got them past customs. Who are the jazz martyrs? So why does jazz, after being shut down, abused, misrepresented, barred, banned, censored, despised, maligned, still hang around? Because it has the defiance of Charlie Mingus, who, when a performance of Duke Ellington's music was interrupted by a bomb threat and everybody was asked to leave, he refused, telling the police, if I'm going to die, I'm ready, but I'm going to go out playing Duke Ellington's Sophisticated Lady. Jazz survives because it made Lionel Hampton jump up from his wheelchair, take the stage, and play for hours. It's like flying home. Jazz survives because I saw Wynton Marsalis do a Houdini in a place where you least expect it, in a Brooklyn Jazz 99 senior citizens home, where 1 minute he time traveled sitting with King Oliver before returning to the present, and people were dancing at their tables and at the entrance of the hall and down the flight of steps. Jazz survives because Ellis Marsalis Jr. dismissed the busboys and carried his own garment bag through the lobby of a Las Vegas hotel. Jazz survives because Alan Toussaint refuses to be photographed if he's not wearing the tie. They are the ambassadors for Rollins, the cradle of jazz, where people say, Aiko, Aiko, Aiko Ande, Jokomo Pina, Adante, Jokomo Pina Ne, where Professor Longhair sang the blues, and where Fats Domino found his thrill on Blueberry Hill. Lenny Tristano could play the blues because though he wasn't born dark, he lived in darkness. His left hand had second sight. Bird was spitting up blood when they last toured together. Jazz has the will of Roland Kirk, who after suffering a stroke that paralyzed the left side of his body, played a horn with one hand. It still blew everybody away. Jazz allowed Chuck Webb to play for excruciating pain. Why has jazz survived? Jazz is about life and ecstasy, morning, even the Jackie McLean's, Poor Eric, J.J. Johnson's Lament. Jazz is curative. It brings people out of their diagnosis. Hearing jazz, mental patients sometimes come out of their fogs. Children emerge from their shells. Bob Brookmeyer said, hearing Count Basie as a child, I melted. It was the first time I felt good in my life. I was not a very successful child. As Martin Luther King said, jazz is life. Sammy Ludwig Band.